Hey there, welcome to the video. I hope you're having a great day. So the other week I was going on a walk and I came across a little dead bird in the pathway. I had to move it out of the way. It was right where somebody was either going to step on it or somebody's dog was going to eat it. And as a result, I got a bit of a close-up look at it. Honestly, I kind of wish I had taken a picture of it because I wanted to ID it when I got home. But the one thing I remember was it had a very nice light yellow chest and head. And after doing some research and based on just memory alone, I came to the conclusion that it could have been a female goldfinch, possibly a juvenile, considering I don't remember seeing lots of dark markings on it. Could have been something else entirely, honestly. But it got me thinking about the coloration of the female goldfinch. It's a lot more muted than the male coloration, not nearly as bold and vibrant, and honestly not really what I think people think when they think of the goldfinch at least. You think of those bright yellow colors and the black markings, which the females do have, but they have a lot of kind of grayish tones in them as well. And I really got inspired by that. I really wanted to draw the female colorization of a goldfinch, both to, I guess, memorialize the little dead bird I found on my walk, and also just to celebrate the female colors, draw some attention to them. And so later that day, I was up in my bedroom, and I was looking at my curtains, and my curtains have this, I guess, kind of a fractal geometric design in them. And I was looking at them, and I was thinking about geometric designs, and I was thinking about my bird, and the two concepts fused into one. And I decided I thought it'd be really cool if I drew my goldfinch, but with like a geometric pattern behind it. And yeah, that's what I'm drawing here today. That's my inspiration. And obviously here I started with the goldfinch first. And of course I am using a reference photo for this drawing. I really wanted to get the markings right and the colors right. But I admit, other than just drawing the female bird in this piece, I didn't quite know like how I was going to draw the bird. I don't really have a defined style at this point, like a way I draw stuff. I did know that I did not want to make it look hyper realistic. Not saying that I could have done that, but I also knew there was going to be a geometric pattern behind this bird, and I didn't think a more realistic looking bird would look very good in front of like a highly geometric, stark design. So I guess that was like the only direction I had at this point. Right now I'm kind of just trying to get the bird to look right, to get the markings all in the right spot, and to make it look at least anatomically correct. All this to say, spoiler, I am incredibly happy with how this turned out. I think that this turned out pretty well, ultimately in the end. We're still only at the beginning now, but that's a little spoiler, I guess. For now, I don't have much else to say. I think I'll just sit back and I'll come back in when there's something else to talk about. Okay, so in a minute here, I'm about to start drawing the geometric pattern I was talking about earlier. And I have to admit, it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to figure out how to do geometry. I drew a circle, and all I wanted to do was just to subdivide that circle into equal parts. But there was no guide or ruler that I could see, at least, that actually gave me a circle with subdivisions in it. So I had to figure it out on my own with the rulers that was provided by Krita. And I guess let's just see how well that worked out for me. Hey, I figured it out eventually. My god, it took legitimately, I think, like an hour of me just messing with the tools that I had. I retried the same thing many times, kind of hoping maybe it'll work this time. Maybe I just drew the lines not quite right, and clearly I just wasn't understanding geometry very well. But I got it in the end, and now I know what to do in the future. So now that I have my circle nicely subdivided and I've created this grid of sorts to help guide me, I just kind of started playing around with it. I'd never drawn this sort of like geometric pattern before, and I only had a very vague idea of what I wanted it to look like. So most of this was really just an iterative experimental process of just doing some shapes, doing some lines, and stepping back and looking at it and seeing if it worked. It certainly took a while to get to something that I liked, but I kind of thought this was fun. It was new, it was different. It's cool to see this shape sort of just kind of grow and change as I add new things, and trying to figure out if that thing looked good, did not look good, what can I do next. Yeah, I had fun with this. It was certainly a really good learning experience for me. So now we're at the coloring phase of this piece. And going back to what I was mentioning before, yeah, I really didn't know exactly how I was going to render this piece. For a while I kind of thought I was going to do a more soft blended look. That's kind of where I've been leaning with the past, I guess, 4 to 5 pieces that I've drawn. I've kind of been leaning towards more of like a soft blended look, lineless look in my pieces, but quickly I decided that that's not what I wanted to do here for whatever reason. I think the way I drew the lines really got me away from doing sort of that kind of look, and I ended up taking in a direction not completely different, but certainly not what I was first imagining. Ultimately, I think the more stark colors that I used, not colors, but the more sharp edges and non-blended look worked really well with that geometric pattern in the background. I think the two looks lend themselves really well to work together, and ultimately I'm pretty glad with the way this looked. I might be repeating that because I'm really happy with how this piece turned out in the end. It's just it's quite different than what I've done in the past, at least immediately in the past. When I look kind of further back at pieces I've done a little bit longer ago, I have done stuff like this where I have more bold outlines and colors that aren't blended and that are more like blocked in instead of blended. And I just find that I've discovered rather that those pieces really speak more to me than what I've been doing more recently. And I'm very happy with this, how it turned out. To admit, something about this muted yellow color that I used as just like a base color I really liked. I really liked that dusky muted yellow, and I was kind of sad to see it go. Unfortunately, it didn't really fit in with any of the colors from the actual Goldfinch, at least from the reference that I was using. I do believe I used that yellow in the pattern in the background though, so it does make a comeback, but just for some reason, I've had this happen in the past before where I draw the outlines and then I put down I fill in with colors so that I can, lock the color layer and go over the colors later. And something about just having like a plain flat color down with just outlines, I take a step back and I look at it and I go, ooh, that looks really good. Maybe I should stop. Maybe I should just leave it the way it is. Then I go, no, it'll look better, actually done with actual details and stuff, and ultimately it does, but just this yellow, I just really like that yellow, but ultimately it had to go, unfortunately. So on choosing the purple for the branch color, obviously that's not a very natural look, but I really wanted to lean into bringing out that yellow in the bird. Um, Again, I'm trying to celebrate the female coloration, and purple is a complementary color to yellow, so I really wanted to do this branch in that purple so that hopefully it would make the bird pop more. Um, and again, as I kind of indicated earlier, I was kind of trying to lean away from a more realistic looking piece, especially since I have this very, very geometric pattern in the background. So making the branch kind of like a bright color like this, or a natural color, I guess, really leaned into the whole aesthetic of the piece, I think. So that was why I chose the purple coloration on the branch. Okay, so when I drew this pattern in the background, I was kind of using the wrong tool for the job. I was using the line tool and the circle tool, but I had it with the brush selected, and the brush will vary its line weight depending on how much pressure you put down. I end up drawing lines that had various weights throughout the pattern, especially with the circles. You can really see that with the circles, I think. And I didn't think that looked very good, so I'm just basically redrawing all those lines with the pen selected instead of the brush, and the pen will not vary its width, or its weight rather, with pressure. So I got some nice even lines in there, and it looked much cleaner in the end. Okay, so now we're coloring in the pattern. And yeah, I had the idea for what I wanted to do. Um, we're celebrating the colors of the bird, so I wanted to reflect the colors of the bird in this pattern. Um, I was adding some purple though to add a little bit more contrast, especially in the center there. I didn't want yellow to be right next to where the bird was sitting because that would, I think, muddle the two elements together a little bit too much. But no, the only idea I had beyond that was just pick the colors from the bird, maybe lighten them up a little bit to get some variability. But then I just started playing with the colors, just like drawing the pattern. This was a very experimental and iterative process of just back and forth, putting some colors down, zooming out, how does it look, going back in, and just trying to figure out what worked. One thing that was a little bit frustrating here was the bucket tool does not reflect across with the mirror. When you have the mirror enabled, either horizontal or vertical, like that's how I drew the pattern, right? I only had to draw basically one quadrant, and the reflection tool did the rest for me. But unfortunately, the bucket tool does not reflect, so I kind of just had to do one quadrant, and then later I'll just go back through and fill in all the pieces myself. But yeah, that would have really helped if Krita let me do that. Unfortunately, I kind of had to imagine what the rest of it looked while I was dropping the colors in, just trying to like envision what it would look like if the whole thing was colored. And that definitely made it a little bit more complicated and hard to really settle on what I thought would look good, because I did not want to repaint it once I had filled in the whole thing. So I was really relying on my ability to try and imagine the colors throughout the whole thing, and it worked out pretty well. But yeah, that was a bit of a limitation I ran into while doing this. Warning a little bit, there might be some flashing effects coming up, just from moving the canvas back and forth across this pattern. So if you're photosensitive, you might want to watch out for that. Yeah. And it was at this point, unfortunately, that I realized that the piece looked way too busy with this pattern behind the whole bird, like I have it. I tried messing with some masks to get it to look less muted or less bright, but that was really going against what I wanted for the colors to look in this. But then I remembered my original idea for the composition of this piece was actually to have that fractal pattern behind the head of the bird itself, kind of like a halo. And as you can see, that is what I ended up doing. And I really like the way it looked. I think it looks much better. It's possibly a little bit too busy still, which I think is something I can work on and improve if I want to do this again. But I think the way this turned out worked really well. I like it quite a bit. I think everything came together really well in this piece. It's a lot different than what I've done in the past, and I really want to explore this. And I really love the concept too of, yeah, celebrating like a female bird colorization in species where the males are much more vibrant, in species where people usually think of the male colorization instead of the females. But the females can be just as pretty in their own right, you know. I liked how this turned out so well that I do plan on doing more. Actually, immediately, I think my next couple pieces might be doing some different bird species. And I do plan on recording myself, so I guess if you liked this, look forward to more, because I do plan on doing more. And yeah, that's it. I hope anybody who's listening enjoyed this. So this was my first time adding music to my videos, and I hope that turned out well. Apologies if it did not. And yeah, I will talk to you next time. Bye-bye.